The thing about Frieren, now that we're, 22 episodes in, if you're not calling Frieren the queen of anime, what are you doing with your life? This show, it can have some of the greatest magic spectacles you'll see in the next year, like the past couple of episodes. Or it can have an episode where literally the characters walk down a street, go get some food, chat up the previous people that they were fighting and some were fighting to kill, and it's honestly just as good of an episode as the craziness as last week, which I still think last week has Frieren's singular best moment today. Our girl smashing that barrier just like it's nothing. That is still, I think, for right now, her best moment and this show's best moment. But in terms of quality of an episode, there's no difference in quality from episode 21. I mean, I feel for my boy Stark. I think my boy Stark continues to get done dirty. Even if it looks like he was having fun by the end of the episode, our boy, he was drinking his sorrows away last week. He was enjoying a nice night to just sleep past noon. And then he gets roped into doing more and more. And then by the end, when who used to have murderous looks and intent comes to recruit our boy, Fern's like, yeah, sure, it's fine. He seems fine. And then we cut away to this giant beast getting, and I'm like, even if he's eating some tasty looking food right there, my boy just wanted to sleep in. Like, justice for Stark. But you can't deny the way this show so perfectly blends slice of life adventuring with this action fantasy style storytelling. It never overuses action, so it never feels like we're just trying to get to the next big set piece, but rather when it pops up, you're like, damn, this is really fun shit. And honestly, I really don't think you can point out a singular episode that wasn't close to perfect. Like, that's how good this show is. Now, of course, I have a full live reaction over on my Patreon to today's wonderful Frieren episode. If you want to see my full and good thoughts as we watch this episode, it's over there if you're interested. Now, this was such a good episode. It was, once again, it really highlights the brilliance of Frieren's formula. So there's supposedly 3 rounds to this magic exam, right? And usually once you're in a magic exam, the next episode, even if there is a breathing room episode, you still feel like you're trapped in the location. What I mean is if you're taking a magic exam, you're in a castle, right? So in this case, we were fighting in this big open area, you assume you're going back to the general starting area or this or that. No, they have their lodgings, they're doing their thing. The fact that we don't just jump into the next part, and we know that each of the parts are probably going to do something vastly different. I don't even know what you really wanted to actually describe the first part of the exam as. It's a mixture of a battle royale meets hide and seek. The birds are hiding, you're trying to find them, you're trying to capture them. And if people want to kill you to steal your bird or just to eliminate you, that's fair. That's how this can work. And honestly, the fact that most of the time in the first part wasn't necessarily action, but rather strategy, there's literally groups of characters who just waited and waited for someone to grab a bird so that then they could jump them. And then our boy Denkin comes in with his own fist of fury to steal a bird. It's fantastic what they did with that whole exam. And the fact that we leave it with just this sense of normalcy. It's like we didn't see any of the craziness we just saw. This is just like your own school exam, right? Each day you go to a different class for an exam, you do your thing, you go home, rest up, and you go back in for more. Except in Frieren's case, it's so much cooler than anything we ever took in our own life. Because the idea that this show has flawlessly nailed something I don't think I've seen done this well. And that is the flashback to her first party to with what's going on with their current party. This isn't the first time that I've seen over the course of a show getting flashbacks showing the memories or forgotten times, or even in the case of this happened 10, 20 years ago. In Frieren's case, it's 80 years ago. But the fact that usually when something like that happens, I almost always find myself saying either A, I wish I could see more of that flashback stuff, either make that the whole anime or just show me more of it, or I feel like it's distracting for the more interesting story at play, which is present day. In Frieren's case, no, they handle it perfectly. Every time I see stuff from Himeno's party and just what he did, we get a couple of minutes, maybe an episode of something, a flashback. Sometimes it's even less than that. But every time I feel like I learned so much about that party that I don't need to see more. What they show me is more than enough, but it also reinforces current day stuff. Look near the end of the episode when we get that flashback of Himeno just helping some kid and Frieren being like, why do you do this? And it's pretty much a lesson of it's good to help people, right? Something 80 years ago, she's pretty much like, this is a waste of time and resources, why are we doing this? And then look at her right now with her little girl talk time and really loving and smiling about helping people. The fact that one of, I think, my favorite personal moments for Frieren's character happens at that restaurant. So 80 years ago, they helped this chef get his blade back or whatever it is they did. And he's like, listen, my food be the best. No one's ever going to surpass me. And they're saying, well, things are going to change and hopefully that your flavors will stick around. And he says, bet, my flavors will be so good, no chef will ever want to put their own spin to it because it will be that good. Frieren takes a bite because obviously 80 years go by, that man's not still around. And she's like a little disappointed at first. You think like, oh shit, the flavors are different. And she admits the flavors are different, but they're better. And I love the fact that she's accepting change, that things can change and be better. And I think that's why she's not hung up on the past. Like, oh, this party that I travel with, like, what I currently have now isn't the same, because it's true. Even if there's similarities to Stark or Fern, to some of the people she traveled with, at the end of the day, they're their own people. And I love the fact that we get that type of characterization and development in an episode that's them literally going to dinner and walking the town. Nothing else happened. The only big moment really that happened is the fact that they get their letter saying, hey, in 3 days, here's the second part of the exam, and oh shit, this person's a hard ass, never been passed. Like, no one's ever passed when they oversee the test. I don't know how many will. I think we have 18 right now. Maybe less than a third will make it through. Hell, maybe only a couple will make it through. I don't know. It's gonna be spicy for sure, but this is what I love about this show. We're 22 episodes in. The production hasn't dipped. We're 22 episodes in. The characterization is only getting better. We're 22 episodes in, and this show is more of a masterpiece than it was at episode 1. In episode 1, I was already pretty sure it was a masterpiece. Can you get my enthusiasm for the show yet? And the great thing about an episode like this is we also get to learn a bit more about the characters who we were fighting, and some of which we were fighting thinking they were trying to kill us. The dude who's pretty much ready to kill these two girls is actually a pretty wholesome grandma's boy, for hell's sake. Like, what the hell? The fact that we learn about Ubo's power and the idea of like why she's so like empathetic or like wants to connect a bit more like she did in the exam. Apparently she just be copying powers, and honestly, the idea of someone who can basically play an instrument versus can play an instrument but can't read sheet music kind of feels like her ability, because like she uses these spells with having no idea of the fundamentals. And honestly, for some mages that would be absolutely disgusting, not understanding the practical side of it but just being like a mimic in ways. And just those are the little moments, like the fact that it's not just about Frieren's party, it's about the fact that we're in this exam that's clearly going to take up the rest of this anime season. We have 6 more episodes to go, right? And the fact that we're taking our time with this exam, I appreciate that. And the fact that we're developing everyone who's a part of this, I also appreciate. The only issue is my boy Stark deserves more of a vacation than he got. But I wouldn't be surprised if come an episode or two, we see him back at that damn bar talking his sorrows away. Those are my feelings though on this week's Frieren episode. Let me know your feelings down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell. And like I mentioned, we have a full live reaction over on my Patreon. And hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. So today we have Sean Kafke, Ryan Colley, Conroy, Future Hamster, Jamie Strout, and Roland Vermiglo. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.